Hello, hello, and good morning. At least here where I am in New York City. Welcome to a TED Talks watch party. We have some awesome talks for you here today. My name is Ikey Ajavon. I'm the digital curator here at TED, and we're so happy to show you some cool talks today. But before we get into any of that, where are y'all watching from? I'm here in New York City. Drop in the chat where you're tuning in from. I know we have a pretty global audience across platforms, so I love to see and hear where people are. Today, we've got 4 awesome brand new talks that we just dropped from our conference back in April. We do a big conference every year in Vancouver, for those who don't know. This year, we have published a few talks, and we're showing you some of our favorites that we've done so far. So I'll go through which ones we're going to be talking about in just a second. But let's see where people are coming in from. We got someone from Oregon, the Philippines, Ghana. Let's see, Japan. Wow, we got a pretty wide range. Ethiopia. So many amazing places. This is so exciting. Thank you for joining. We're so excited to have you here. I'm so excited to have you here. These talks are really great. So let me break down who we'll be hearing from today, and then I'll go back and see where else some people are tuning in from. So our first speaker will be Carol Cadwalader. She's an investigative reporter. She broke the Cambridge Analytica story, and her TED Talk from this year's TED2025 is all about digital authoritarianism. It's going to be very interesting. Our next person who will be speaking, and I say person specifically because there's also a robot in this talk, and that's from Bernd Bornick. He is the founder of 1X, which is a robotics company. This talk is wild, y'all. It's going to be really cool. I'm so excited to show you. Our third speaker is a climate activist. Her name is Shea Bastida, and she has a really powerful and impactful message about hope and what we can all do moving forward. And last, we'll round things out with Rob Brado, who is a visual effects Jedi. I say Jedi specifically because he works at ILM and ILM and Lucasfilms, and he's done a lot of work on Star Wars and many other big films that I'm sure you've seen. So we'll be going in that order. As always, make sure to drop any questions you have in the chat. My amazing colleague Nicole will be there, and Kelly on the YouTube side. But let's see where else people are tuning in from. We have people from Morocco, Australia, New Mexico, South Africa. Oh my gosh, this is awesome. So many amazing areas and locations. And I'm so jazzed that you're here to watch some TED Talks with me. Again, feel free to drop any questions you have in the chat, and my colleagues will be dropping in the names of these speakers and links to their talks when it's available. All these, of course, if you can tune in for just a little bit, or maybe you want to pop in for one talk and see some talks later, you can find all these on TED.com and our YouTube. So feel free to check those out here. And honestly, I'll stop yapping. Let's get into the first talk. This is Carol Cadwalader. I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. Make sure to drop any questions you have in the chat. And without further ado, let's get into it.
I've been feeling a lot of panic and fear about this talk. And not just for the normal reasons of public speaking, although that's there too. But it's also because I want to say something meaningful, and I've been overwhelmed by the enormity of what is happening right now. And there's a particular set of circumstances which have also been feeding into my confusion and denial. And that is because the last time that I stood on this stage, it led to a 3-year legal battle, culminated in London's High Court, in which it felt like I was on trial for my life, because I was. My career, my reputation, my finances, even my home was on the line. All because I came here to warn you that I didn't think democracy was going to survive the technology that you're building, however incredible it is. In fact, I was the person who almost didn't survive, and pretty much everything that I was warning about is now coming true. I can't sugarcoat it. It's a bit of a head fuck. I have a lot of emotions about coming here, and TED also, I suspect, is feeling them too. But what actually I finally realized yesterday is that the denial and the confusion that I've been feeling is maybe what you're feeling too. I felt powerless for a really long time. So if that's what you're feeling, I get it. But we have to act now. My alarm system is ringing again. There are things that we can do. In my case, I survived, and you will too, but it's by learning how to fight back. This is my guide, and it has to start with naming it. It's a coup. I know you probably don't want to hear that, and especially here, but we can't fight it if we can't see it, and we can't see it if we don't name it. The Russian and American presidents are now speaking the same words. They are telling the same lies. We are watching the collapse of the international order in real time, and this is just the start. Coups are like concrete. When they stop moving, they set. It is already later than we think. This image, some of you in this room might know these people. I call it tech bros in hostage situations. It's a message to you. This is Putin's playbook. He allows a business elite to make untold riches in exchange for absolute loyalty. Some people are calling this oligarchy, but it's actually bigger than that. These are global platforms. It's broligarchy. There is an alignment of interests that runs through Silicon Valley to what is now a coming autocracy. It's a type of power that the world has never seen before. It's always the data. It's the crack cocaine of Silicon Valley. You know, the first thing that Elon Musk did was to send his cyber troops into the US Treasury to get access to the data. That is not a coincidence, it's a hack. That data is now feeding AIs that are choosing who to sack and who to replace. Sorry, eliminate fraud and waste. When we broke the Cambridge Analytica story about the harvesting 87 million people's Facebook data, people freaked out. Rightly. This is chicken feed compared to that. But it is the blueprint. It's always the data. Which is why it's so important that you start thinking about your private life. The broligarchy doesn't want you to have one. This is the old headquarters of the East German secret police. They kept detailed files on almost 1 in 3 of their citizens. That is nothing compared to what Google has on every single one of us and hundreds of other companies. The entire business model of Silicon Valley is surveillance. It harvests our data in order to sell us stuff. We are already living inside the architecture of totalitarianism. It may not have been deliberate, but we now have to start acting as if we live in East Germany and Instagram is the Stasi. Politics is downstream from culture. So I actually learned this from somebody who I think of as one of the great philosophers of our age, Steve Bannon. He actually stole it from somebody else. But it's not politicians who have the power. He knows that. It's why he's a podcast bro these days. But culture now is just what's next on your phone. And that's AI. Culture is AI now. And forget the killer robots. If you want to know what the first great AI apocalypse is, we're already living it. It's total information collapse. And if you take one thing only away from this talk, it's politics is technology now. And that's why everybody in this room, you can't look away. It's why your CEOs have been taken captive and are paraded on TV like hostages. But you have a choice. So Trump, he calls the press the enemies of the people, and he probably doesn't even know that he's quoting Stalin. So what happened to me is a playbook, and it's now coming for all sorts of other people. It was actually a friend of this guy who came after me. It's Nigel Farage. It's a Brexit funder. I'm not going to go super into the details. But 19 press freedom organizations called the lawsuit against me a slap. That means it's a strategic litigation against public participation. A really long-winded way of saying it's using law as a weapon to shut people up, not just journalists, but other public people too. And it works. I just wanted to tell you about one aspect of the litigation, which I found terrifying, and that was the data harvesting. There's this quote, you may know it, it's Cardinal Richelieu. If you give me 6 lines written by the hand of the most honest of men, I will find something in them in which will hang him. In my case, the first forensic searches of my phone and laptop yielded 40,000 pieces of data. It was my messages, my emails, my voice memos, my personal life. And the whole thing about this, the attack which came from me, it's really personal. Because the thing about this litigation is only one part of the playbook. It was also this sort of massive online campaign of abuse, which is just day after day, after day, after day. Because my most unforgivable crime was reporting while female. It was a digital witch burning. And I believe that this man came after me personally, not The Guardian and not TED. It was because I looked like the weakest link. But he was wrong. And "30,000 people rose up to support me. They contributed almost £1 million to a legal defense fund because they saw a bully trying to crush me and they would not let it stand." And it always makes me emotional when I think about that. I just heard somebody was saying the camera person, I don't know where they are, contributed. This whole talk is actually my gratitude towards everybody who did that. But it's also why I know about what we have to do next. You know, Trump is suing news organizations, and every day they're settling. These are big corporates with corporate interests. Not everybody can stand up to power, but there are people who are doing it, and we can support them. We have to have each other's backs right now, because we are the cavalry now. You know, this is really important to me, but I spoke to a UK libel lawyer before this talk. I want to say that there is an awful lot of facts set down in a High Court judgment, and we're actually taking the case now to the European Court of Human Rights. We're testing the UK on its laws around freedom of expression. So look after facts. You'll miss them when they've gone. This is Wayback Machine. Give them money. They're trying to preserve the internet as it's being deleted day by day. History is our best chance of getting out of this. You know, you probably know this phrase, do not obey in advance. That's Tim Snyder, who's a historian of authoritarianism. We now are in techno-authoritarianism. We have to learn how to digitally disobey. That can be as simple as the drop-down box. Don't accept the cookies. Don't give your real name. Download Signal. the encrypted messaging app. Don't bomb Yemen. Don't add the editor of The Atlantic to your group chats. Oh, don't experiment on children. You know, social mores change. We don't send children down coal mines anymore. And in years to come, allowing your child to be data harvested from birth will be considered child abuse. You didn't know, but now you do. Privacy is power. And we have more of it than we think. I had this little epiphany yesterday in which I realized actually the moments when I felt most powerless were the moments that I felt I was actually most powerful. It was because my journalism had impact. They want us to feel powerless. That's the plan. There is so much, though, that we can learn from people who've been through this before. Alexei Navalny, the leader of the Russian opposition, he always talked about a beautiful Russia of the future. He painted a vision. There is a beautiful internet of the future, free from corporate capture and data tracking. We can build it. It is going to take a movement, but we can learn from movements that there have been before us. This is my colleagues and I on strike in December because my news organization, The Guardian, decided to sell our corner of it, The Observer, the Sunday title. And it was a battle we really didn't need at this time, and we didn't actually win. But, you know, you can't win every battle, but you definitely won't win if you don't fight. So I want to leave you with this. This is ChatGPT writing a TED Talk in the style of Carol Cadwallader. And it is creepily plausible. But what it doesn't know, because AI is actually as dumb as a rock, is that I am going to turn to Sam Altman, who is coming here, a TED speaker, and say that this does not belong to you. ChatGPT has been trained on my IP, my labor, my personal data. And I did not consent. You know, The Guardian has effectively got rid of more than 100 journalists. We actually leave the building next week. And shortly afterwards, it signed a syndication deal with OpenAI. Or as I think of it, it married its rapist. But I do not consent. And while we still have copyright laws in my country, UK government is trying to tear them up at the moment in order to suck up to Silicon Valley and Trump. But while we have them, use them. Because what is happening to my industry is happening to yours too. And it's more than theft. It's a violation. Data rights are human rights. In 2019, I came here and I called out the gods of Silicon Valley. I was wrong. Sam Altman, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, you are not gods. You are men and you are careless. You think that by allying yourself with an autocrat, you will be protected. That's not how history works. It's not even how oligarchy works. This is Mikhail Khodorkovsky. He was an oligarch until he was sent to Siberia, to prison for 10 years after Putin tired of him. You are sucking up to a tyrant who is trying to destroy the laws who made your businesses possible. You're collaborators. You're complicit in a regime of fear and cruelty. But the rest of us, We all here, we have a choice. I chose to come back to TED because I'm reclaiming my story, my words. We are not powerless. The 30,000 people who supported me proved that we are not powerless because we know who we are and we know what we stand for. And my question to Silicon Valley is, do you? Thank you.
Okay, so for those who are just joining us, that was our first talk of 4 talks during this TED Talk watch party. That was Carol Cadwalder. Let me know what you think about that talk in the comments, please. We'd love to hear your opinions. And then also a question for those who are watching who are just involved, and I'll go over what's kind of going on a bigger scale. How comfortable are you with sharing your data with AI? Let us know in the comments. Really interested to hear your thoughts. And again, for those who are just joining, my name is Ikey. I'm your host. I'm the digital curator at TED, and this is the TED Talks watch party where we watch a couple TED Talks, we hang out, we have a little discussion back and forth, and we have a good time. You can, communicate and connect with people in the comments, and all these talks, of course, will be available on YouTube and TED.com as well. Another great thing, if you enjoyed that talk, we did continue the conversation. We had Chris Anderson, the head of TED, do a special TED Talks Daily episode with her. And that is available also on YouTube, TED.com, and the TED Talks Daily podcast, right? So make sure to check that out if you're interested in that talk. It's a really powerful talk. A lot of people are talking about it, if you will, and we're really excited to see how people react to it. Let's see what people are saying. Some people are saying in the comments, using it for AI assistant and projects, but no more. I love that. People are saying she's 100% right. Let's see, healthy debate in the comments. Yeah, please share your opinions. This is a safe space. We're all here to talk and have a good time. That's what we love about TED. Whether you agree, disagree, love what she's saying, hate what she's saying, any other speakers that we're going through here, let us know in the comments. We have some of my amazing colleagues in there who are going to be responding, dropping in links to some of these talks as well. So feel free to express yourself. Someone else says, so powerful, my data is mine. I should get to decide where it goes. Strong, strong, strong. I love that. Someone else says, depending on how effective you want AI to be in your life, it's not something we should be afraid of. It's just a tool, with humans always being superior creators. Very intriguing perspective. This is great. Please keep sharing your thoughts. This is fantastic. Someone else says, not comfortable. It's a violation. That has been so normalized in society today. Again, another fantastic perspective. Please, this is the kind of community and conversation that we love having. This is why we do these watch parties, so you can see what other people around you are also thinking and feeling. So this is fantastic. Thank you. Please keep this going. And while a few more answers come in, I'll set up what the next talk is going to be. So the next talk is going to be very interesting, in my opinion. It is Bernd Bornick, who is the founder of 1X, which is a robotics company. So Bernd and Neo, who you'll meet in the talk, are going to be going through what their plan is for robotics in all of our lives. So whether you feel good about that, maybe you don't feel good about that, same with Carol's talk, this is definitely going to stir up some conversation. So we're really excited to have that. And again, please keep dropping in comments, keep asking questions. This is exactly what we're here to do. So without further ado, let me get Bernd ready, and we'll jump into talk number 2 of today's TED Talk watch party.
As a species, humans have mastered energy to the level where it is, for all practical purposes, completely abundant. 200 years ago, no one could have imagined a world where energy was so accessible that most people would take it for granted. If you had asked the smartest person on Earth whether we could one day summon light with the flip of a switch, they would have said it was impossible, even if the brightest minds worked on it together for an eternity. But today, it's just that easy. Energy is everywhere, all around us, all of the time. Now, what if I told you that the same is about to happen with labor? We are standing at the gates of a future where the work needed to build the products we use, the services we rely on, and even the chores in our homes will be as effortlessly accessible as energy is today, enabling you to explore new frontiers and focus on what makes you truly human. Thank you.
Thank you, Neo. You're the best. It's an amazing machine, right? Yeah. So I spent the last decade of my life working on building humanoid robots like Neo. Robots that will hopefully soon be able to do almost anything that we could imagine. Now, whether this is helping you with the dishes, helping you do your laundry, or whether this is helping your aging grandma, there's never really been a time better for robots. We have an aging population in need of help, and we have a large labor shortage across most of the global economy. And there's much, much more. But even more importantly, to me, these robots, they promise something greater than just the ability to solve the problems of today. They can solve things that we cannot do today. They can give us back things like time. And as these systems and AIs now become both physical and agentic, we can start to work towards a future where we actually have an abundance of labor. We can start towards lifting humanity out of this constant battle over scarcity of resources and create a world where everyone has what they need. And I think that will, to some extent, actually redefine what it means to be human. But since, I'd say, around year 1400, when Leonardo da Vinci made the mechanical man, that to me is kind of like the first example of a humanoid robot, these things have been mainly a thing of science fiction, not reality. But this is changing. The robots, they're actually here. And when I say here, I don't necessarily mean in videos. They're actually here in our homes. At least if you work at 1X, where I work, where we now have them in quite a few homes throughout the company. And already later this year, I hope some of you guys will have it in your home and join us on this journey. So that means Neo is now part of my daily routine. So it does some of the chores around the house. Some of this is autonomous. Some of this is done through remote operation as it's learning. And I talk to it. I treat it kind of like a butler, like a companion. It's part of the family. And I think it's actually incredibly interesting to also see how this social dynamic develops. Because it's, of course, incredibly useful and fun to have it do stuff I don't want to do around my home. But it's also really fun to see the beginning of, like, what will this relationship be between man and machine as these AIs become physical? Now, like I said, the hardware, it's actually here. It took us about a decade of very hard work, but also many people that came before us, a lot of time to do the foundational research for us to now finally be able to build a machine that can do almost anything that a human can do. But it begs the big question, of course, when will they be fully autonomous? When will they actually become truly intelligent? And what is the path that will actually take us there? And I think this will be very obvious in retrospective. They need to live and learn among us. We actually need to take these machines and we need to adopt them. We need to put them into our society and let them learn just as we do. So the general convention has been, or general wisdom, that robots, they're going to first happen in factories. So we're going to put these robots into factories. They're going to do the dull, repetitive, dangerous tasks that they're good at. And as they do these repetitive tasks, they get better and better, right? They get more intelligent. And after some time, we can put them into our home. They will be able to do our laundry. They will build our skyscrapers. But this is actually categorically wrong. And we know because we actually tried that. So back in 2022, we took our previous generation wheeled humanoid, Eve, and we put it in the industry. And it actually went really well. We solved a lot of kind of narrow, specific tasks. And it got really good at them really fast. And then after about 20 to 50 hours, the robots, they just stopped learning. And if you think about it, it's not really rocket science, because if you're doing the same task over and over every day, and it's the only thing you're doing, you're not going to get very intelligent. There's no information there. And also, you're going to generally become very narrow-minded, right? We don't like being narrow-minded. And if you think about like what is a factory, it is essentially a process that we design to reduce diversity and variance. You want your factory worker to need as little information as possible to be able to do the job and get a high-quality, repeatable product out. And this is kind of the opposite of what you need for intelligence. You need diversity. You need to challenge yourself. You need to do new tasks every day that you don't know how to do. And there's a great parallel here to the early days of large language models. So when we use these models today, and they're getting really good, we kind of forget where they started. They started with a lot of people trying to make very narrow models. So if I take an example, if you wanted to make a very good writing assistant to write poetry, then you would, of course, train on all of the best poetry in the world, makes sense. And then it wouldn't really work. And when we started training these models on all of the internet, right, the complete diversity of all human knowledge, they started working. They became kind of smart. They started being able to a certain extent, to reason. And I'd say, like, understand to a certain extent what is the question you're asking and how should I answer. And this is also how we humans learn. We need a large amount of diversity for us to be able to develop into intelligent beings. So why should it be different for robots? And it really begs the question then, what is the equivalent of the internet? How do we find this kind of like internet-level diversity of information for our robots? Well, we come to the conclusion that this is probably the home. Now, the home is this beautiful, chaotic thing. It's kind of like, well, it's like the messiness that is being human. And I want to take a small example here. So think about a cup. Now, of course, there's many cups in the world, and you want to be able to figure out how all of them work. But even if you look at one specific cup, it can be so many things. Is it dirty? Is it clean? It's kind of in the middle. Is it on the table, in the cabinet, on the floor? It can even have a social context. Someone's using the cup. Someone's waiting for the cup. Like, why is the cup even there? And this is just the cup. Now think about expanding this out into everything and every object and everything going on in your home. That's the kind of diversity that we're talking about to get to proper machine intelligence. So like any good scientist, right? We had this hypothesis, and now we have to test it. So in 2023, we brought our robots home. And I had Eve in my house for quite a while, and it was, of course, doing the standard things like emptying the dishwasher, but also bringing me a cup of tea when I was enjoying playing board games with my friends or serving cupcakes at my daughter's birthday party. And pretty quickly, it actually became quite clear that this hypothesis actually was the ground truth. The home is this incredible, diverse source of data that lets us continue to progress intelligence. So we thought originally that it was going to be this. But actually, it was this. And let me show you guys now how this actually works in practice. Oh, thank you, Neo. You're doing a good job. It's a bit noisy, but hopefully you can still hear me. So what you see here now, of course, is just a subset of tasks that Neo can do. And this is a mix of autonomy for things the robot is good at, and some remote operation where someone's guiding the robot to basically do expert demonstrations on how to do these tasks. And as we have an increasing number of these robots throughout homes, living among us and learning, more and more of this becomes autonomous. Until hopefully one day, all of this will be fully autonomous. And if you kind of follow along in the field, a natural question to ask at this point would be, why doesn't everyone do this? Right? If it's so obvious. Well, it actually turns out it's incredibly hard to make a robot that is safe among people. So robots are traditionally these quite stiff, high energy. You're doing great, Neo. You're doing great. They're this. Careful, I don't want to get watered. Stiff machines that are high energy and dangerous. And this is very different from how Neo works. Neo actually has tendons that gets pulled very loosely inspired by human muscle. And this makes Neo into a robot that is quiet, soft, compliant, lightweight, safe, and really able to live among us and learn among us. Oh, let's see if he figures it out. It's a hard one. You can do it, Neo. I said it, he's the best, right? Okay. So this is still, of course, incredibly early. We're all the way in the beginning of this journey. But I do hope that in not so long, just like we take energy for granted around us, we will be able to take labor around us for granted. And we might soon not even remember the day where there wasn't always like a helping hand available for anything we wanted to do. But as these machines go around in our society and learn, to me, this journey is about a lot more than just you not having to do your laundry. It's about creating a future where we actually have time to focus on what matters to us as humans and getting rid of these constraints. But also, it's an opportunity to really have these machines help us solve some of the outstanding questions that we still have, like, can we have robots build robots? Can we have robots build data centers to progress AI? Can we have robots that build chip fabs to help us accelerate adoption of AI? And I think it's getting pretty clear that we can have all of these things. But it goes even further than that. I hope we can get a future where we have humanoid robots like Neo that is actually building particle accelerators, that is building labs. We will have millions of robots around in the world doing high-quality, repetitive experiments in labs and helping us progress science at a pace that we have never seen before. And I hope that in the future, through this kind of like a symbiosis between man and machine, we can start trying to answer some of the remaining big unanswered questions about the universe and our role here. And I think if we can do that, that will, to some extent, redefine what it means to be human. Thank you.
Okay, that was Bernd Bornick and Neo. Tell me what you think in the comments. Would you have a robot in your home? And if so, what would you want it to help you with? I see we did a poll on YouTube, and it looks like people are pretty 50-50 split. I know myself, I'm kind of like, it'd be great if the robot could like fold my laundry for me when I pick it up from the laundromat. But at the same time, do I want this thing in my home? I don't know. If you're just joining and you're kind of like, what is going on? Why was there a robot on the screen? Well, you're right in the middle of a TED Talks watch party. My name is Ikey. I'm your host, and we're having a great time. We have 2 talks in, 2 talks to go. We've been talking, conversing in the comments. We have people saying that they'd like them to do the gardening, do the cooking. they'd like them to clean up after the kids. These are all really good use cases, I feel like. So yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely going to be like a personal choice as robots, humanoid robots in the home become more and more of a thing. So yeah, I'd be really interested to hear what other tasks you are curious about or you'd want a robot to do. Someone says healthy cooking. That's a good idea. Someone says they're worried about the Matrix and things along that lines. Highly intelligent AI mixed with robots. That's also scary. I don't know if anyone's seen the movie I, Robot. That's something that comes to mind when I think about this kind of stuff. But please keep sharing your ideas, your thoughts in the comments. This is awesome. This is exactly why we do these watch parties, so that you have this community around you to talk and have a great time with while we're watching these talks. So as I mentioned, we have 2 more talks to go. I know the time is going by so quickly. Our next speaker is amazing climate activist. Her name is Shea Bastida. And I'll tell you a little bit more about her right after I read some more of these comments. Let's see. Oh, someone says they should have a master switch. I personally agree. You got to make sure you can keep these robots in line, if you will. Let's see. They would have them do chores. What else do we have? Someone says, good luck with yours. They're apparently not interested in having a robot in their home, which I totally get. You know, everyone has these varying opinions, and I think it's really fun to talk about them. So let's move on to talk number 3. This is Shea Bastida. She is a climate activist, and she has a really, in my opinion, important message about hope. You know, as things continue to progress in this world, whatever you're talking about, hope is, I think, something that's very interesting. And she has a very particular perspective on it. So without further ado, let's welcome to the virtual TED stage, Shea Bastida.
My parents were really lucky. They met each other at the first Earth Summit in 1992. And they kept seeing each other at climate events for years to come until they fell in love. They weren't the coolest parents because they were the only people I knew talking about climate change, but they were the strongest parents. And that fire was passed on to me, the fire to stand up when almost nobody else is. And this is something that I felt through different moments in my life, like when I was in second year of kindergarten, and I was named water protector, which meant that I had to close the faucet every time my classmates washed their hands when we were 5 years old. This fire also prepared me for the very worst. When I was 13 years old, my hometown in central Mexico, an indigenous community called San Pedro Tultepec flooded up to my knees. The scary part was not the extent or the speed at which the flood came, but the color and the smell. The water came from the overflow of the Lerma River, one of the most contaminated rivers in the Americas. And it was full of waste from more than 2,000 factories in 10 industrial parks that feed a lot of Mexico City. This is the moment that I realized that the climate crisis wasn't just about the climate disasters, the floods, the wildfires, the warming, but really magnifying a lot of injustices, like when our soil and our skin is polluted. It was a turning point for me, and I went on to pursue relentless climate activism. I spoke at the United Nations for the first time at 15 years old, and I saw that there was no youth speaking in these spaces. There was no proactiveness in accepting that this is inherently a generational injustice. And I went on to organize some of the largest climate strikes in history with youth from all around the world. In New York City, me and 60 kids organized a strike of 300,000 people. And I was beaming. That was the brightest my heart has ever been, when you are walking with people who see possibility in every step. And then the pandemic came, the movement diluted, and probably it fell from your newsfeed as much as it did from mine. That was a really hard time, but I did have 2 learnings. The first one is that a movement cannot succeed if it's rooted in anger and fear. We have the right to feel angry about many climate injustices, and most of climate science does elicit a lot of fear. But one time I was I was on a strike, and somebody on the sidelines asked me, "Are you marching for something or against something? Because I'm tired of marching against things." That was really introspective moment for me, and it showed me that I really had to show up from a place of deep love and deep care for life. The second learning that I had was all about how most climate activists, most of my friends, burn out really fast. Because when you join a movement because you feel an injustice and you go right into it, we have the tendency to do as much as we can, as fast as we can, and not take care of ourselves. When I was 17 years old, organizing this huge strike that, by the way, we only had a permit for 17,000 people. And when 300,000 showed up, it was, I mean, you can imagine. Organizing this strike, applying to 18 colleges, negotiating with the Department of Education so that they would let us go to the streets without any academic repercussion. And I collapsed in my history class. The doctor told me it was heart palpitations and asked me if I was stressed or if I had a history of heart issues. I vowed to myself that I wouldn't put myself through that for activism, because that's not what activism is about. Activism is a practice of creativity, of looking at something and asking how it can be better and fairer. These learnings led me to a path that I am in now, which is this struggle of knowing the magnitude of the crisis, knowing that almost nobody's caring about it as we were 5-6 years ago anymore. And this feeling that our governments, our institutions are not doing enough. And the question is, how do we stay active? How do we stay engaged? So I developed the tools for hope. I don't like the word hope. I've been told, as many youth activists, many times, that we give people hope and then it gives people permission to not stand up themselves. So let me give you my definition of hope. Hope is like that internal force within you, the fire that gives you direction, ambition. From my indigenous community, fire is sacred. We tell stories around a fire. We do sweat lodges around the fire. And sometimes we do ceremonies that last for weeks, and we have a fire keeper. And that is the same that is inside each and every one of us. So my elders ask me, how is your fire doing? What they mean is, how is your conviction? They give me tips on how to keep this fire bright. The first one is reframing. We have been told time and time again that we are heading towards climate apocalypse. And I ask, haven't many communities suffered apocalypse? Haven't many communities ended with colonization, with displacement? And so I choose to say that we're not heading towards apocalypse. We are rising from many. When you have that vision, you become empowered to learn and act as if we are truly rebuilding and we are resilient and we're tapping into the histories that we share. Another way that we can reframe things is, frankly, our economic system. I've always been struck by the fact that things are always valued when they're dead or extracted, like a tree. But we have not figured out how to create economic systems that value life. We talk about ecosystem services, about carbon sinks, we talk about oxygen and water filtration, but these are not in our balance sheets. Why haven't we given ourselves the challenge to value life? The second tool for hope is learning insights from nature. I grew up learning that nature is very wise, that we must act in reciprocity, in harmony, and in balance. But you don't really learn insights from nature until you truly observe, when you truly immerse yourself. A few years ago, I was walking down a beach, and I saw how with each step, my footprints would be marked on the sand. The stronger I stepped, the deeper the footprint would be. And I was reminded how I'm always told that I should leave a mark on this planet. If I truly wanted to leave a mark, I would stand still and I would stay sunk. Are we losing the bigger picture? Are we not making it to where we need to be because we are too focused on leaving our mark? Learning from nature leads to connection, and connection leads to this deep feeling of stewardship. That fuels my fire, it really does. I know that I will never stop fighting for this beautiful planet, even when there is ups and downs in the movement. If we're popular or if we're not popular, it doesn't matter, because I have seen many things that I'm blessed to have seen. The third tool for hope is conscious, vivid imagination. Every single story that I have been told about the future, especially when it comes to climate, has been, futures with no water, cities frozen over because a climate solution went wrong. And we just have a collective imagination of the future that is one in which we are not thriving with nature. That we have been predisposed to that. And I see how it's entertainment. It's easier for us to sit and watch this type of movies or films. But have you thought about how it's way harder to imagine positive futures? It is harder to think in the year 2050 and waking up one morning and thinking about how that day is going to be. And some of the most beautiful times that I share with my fellow climate activists is when we sit together and we ask, what does the future look like if we win? And all of a sudden, the future is truly beautiful. I imagine taking my granddaughter to see the reefs. I imagine taking my grandson to see the ice. I imagine a world where we don't have to run from hurricanes or wildfires. I imagine a world where we are connected and our kids get to experience the world that we have the privilege to see. I've been called naive many, many times. And I think the naivety is to believe that we keep going in the way that we are and thinking that we will be okay. I have spent my life in this and I will keep doing it. And my ask from you is that you see my fire and that you mirror it. My ask from you is that you shine so bright that the future can see you. My ask is that we become vessels of the fire of humanity that makes us truly who we are. And I will leave you with one last thought, which is we marched by the thousands, not because we wanted to change government and businesses, not because we wanted empowerment and we wanted community. We marched because every single step represented possibility that we could get a better future. And I invite you to walk every day in your lives. With each step that we take, we are walking into possibility. Thank you.
Very, very powerful talk. Very powerful talk. That line, what does the future look like if we win, gives me chills every time I see it. And I've seen that talk probably more than I should have. It's so good, so powerful. Let us know what you think in the comments. It's really spectacular things and stuff. Shea Basita, that's not her first talk. She's been giving TED. She's given, I think, 2 or 3 TED Talks before this. And she does an amazing job every single time. Very thought-provoking. And for those who are just joining us and are kind of like, what's going on? What's happening here? This is a TED Talks watch party. That was our 3rd talk that we watched all together. This is kind of like a really cool, fun community. We're talking, we're chatting, we're exchanging ideas and perspectives. And we do this every once in a while. And we really enjoy being able to share this time together. At least I do as the host. We have one more talk, but before we get there, I want to tell you about our next conference. So the theme of this TED Talks watch party was sharing some of our brand new talks from our conference we just had in Vancouver, TED2025. And we have another one coming up in, when is it? November. called TED Next. And this conference is so fun. It's so amazing. It's a transformative 3-day experience that's designed to help you grow both personally and professionally. That's kind of what all the talks are geared toward. There's some extraordinary ideas. We had our first one last year. This is now our second time doing a big flagship TED Next conference. And we actually just dropped some names of speakers who will be speaking at this conference. So I don't know if anyone is familiar with the movie Wicked, but we have Paul Tazwell, who is the costume designer. He'll be speaking. Oscar-winning costume designer Paul Tazwell will be speaking at TED Next in Atlanta in November. I'll have my colleagues drop in some links so you can check out the actual website. We also have a TikTok native, if you will, a ex-Wall Street girly, for those who know. My rich BFF, aka Vivian 2, will also be talking at TED Next. So I don't know if you are a big fan of these people. I know I am. We also have a bunch of other amazing people that will be joining us. And this is just the beginning. We're going to be dropping names every couple months of all the amazing speakers that will be joining for the TED Next conference in Atlanta. So if you have any questions about that, be sure to drop those in the comments. I can let you know what's up, and or my colleagues will drop links to give you more information about our awesome, brand new flagship conference called TED Next. Super stoked all about it. And there are other speakers as well. Let's see, I'll just read the names off. We have Kate Canales, Sanjay Gupta, Jared Polis. Do we have anyone from Colorado? He's the governor of Colorado. So if you live in Colorado, this is your guy. We have Cody Sanchez, who's an investor and author. We have Dan Savage, who is a sex advice columnist. We have J. Kevin Stint, who is the governor of Oklahoma. Anyone from Oklahoma in the comments? Anybody? I already mentioned Paul Tazwell and Vivian 2. So we'll be dropping more names as we go between now and November, and we're really excited about this. So why don't we bring this home? We have one more talk for you, and I'm pretty excited about it. I know a lot of people are feeling the Star Wars vibes currently because May the 4th is coming very, very soon. Our last speaker for today's program is Rob Bradow, he is a visual effects visionary, a visual effects Jedi, as we've been calling him internally. And he is here to share some information, some insights about how you can mix old technology with new technology to help empower creative genius effectively. This talk is awesome. If you're a Star Wars fan, or basically any movie fan, any film fan, you're going to enjoy this for sure. So be sure to drop your comments and ideas and thoughts in the comments as we go through this talk, and I'll be back at the end to wrap up and share some other insights and things that we have going on here at TED. So without further ado, Rob Bradow, let's get into it.
The opening shot of Star Wars Episode 4, the original one. This is an epic shot. It broke all new grounds and really redefined that era of filmmaking. Plus, it's just like perfectly designed. Now, behind the scenes, you may or may not know, this was the camera rig. This is the Dijkstraflex. It's a computerized motion control camera rig. It was innovative. It could be moved from stage to stage. It enabled these new dynamic camera moves on models, on miniatures for the very first time. Again, redefining that era of filmmaking. Today, we're entering a new era of technology. But instead of being introduced to it with a spectacular opening shot of a movie, we're reading about it in the press. And as someone who's been a visual effects artist for over 35 years, some of these headlines are pretty disappointing. They seem to say AI is coming, and it's coming for our jobs. And the tools, they're getting pretty good too. These photographs from a TED conference, it never happened. Of course, these are simple text prompts, image generation systems. Look at some of the details it's getting right. Look at the shadows under her chin. It even knows that there's a red bounce card below. You get that lighting just right. Her hand, notably, exactly 5 fingers. That used to be hard, AI. If you look at her hand, it's subtly motion blurred, like she's making an important point. It's getting a lot of details right. But I work on movies. I should be safe for a little while, right? It's going to take them, well, you know where this is going. Google, Meta, OpenAI, all showing sophisticated video generation systems. These appear to be doing some of the same things we are doing right now, frame by frame, with multiple artists, often working weeks at a time to make a single 3 to 5 second shot in movies you love. It's going to be pretty intimidating. And we're not the only ones who are a little concerned about the future of AI. Okay, we've been here before. And I believe this is an interesting, collision, right, of tech and art. And I believe what George Lucas created in Industrial Light and Magic, his visual effects company, ILM, he founded this 50 years ago to solve the visual storytelling challenges in his films. And what he did there is he put artists side by side with engineers. They were working together to be able to innovate and create the future. This is artist-driven innovation. I'm passionate about this. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at 50 years of history at ILM. We're going to pull some of those cinematic game changers that have happened over this period of time. And then we're going to try to draw some universal themes out of that. And in the end, I'm going to premiere for you, for the very first time, a short created by an artist using the latest generative AI tools so we can see the trajectory we are on and the trajectory we want to be on next. Okay, let's dive in here. Let's turn the clock back to the Jurassic era. This isn't really the Jurassic era. There's real scientists in the room. This is the Jurassic Park era, my Jurassic era, 1993. On this film, they were going to use as many full-scale dinos on set as possible. Just amazing, amazing movie. I mean, this film really ended up redefining the way visual effects were done in movies. But it wasn't planned that way from the beginning. They were going to do these huge full-scale dinosaurs, which they did, and they were amazing. But for the shots where they couldn't have a full-scale dinosaur run like a T-Rex, they were going to do stop-motion animation like you see here. And all that changed one day when Kathy Kennedy, the show's producer, she was walking the halls of ILM, and she noticed this test looping on a monitor. Now, the animators had actually positioned this monitor hoping she would see it. This is the early days of CG, computer graphics, and this looks promising, enough to commission a test with skin and lighting. So they did that test just real quick, and Dennis Muren, the film's visual effects supervisor, and famous stop-motion animator Phil Tippett, they took this down to Spielberg and Kathy Kennedy, and they looped it a few times in their screening room. And as the lights came up, they knew cinema history had changed. It wasn't going to be the same. Spielberg caught Tippett's eye, and he could see his expression on his face. He said, "How are you feeling, Phil?" And Phil said, "I feel like I'm going extinct." And Spielberg's amazing filmmaker. He goes, "That's a good line. I'm going to put that in the movie." He gave that line to Dr. Grant as he's walking up the rotunda. But I think artists right now, many of us, are feeling that same threat of extinction. But there's good news here. This is not what happened on Jurassic Park. Innovation thrives when the old and new technologies are blended together. Jurassic broke all new ground in computer graphics. All new techniques for the first time had been used at this scale, but many of the techniques were exactly the same as before. The animators taped themselves on video for reference. They drew these amazing storyboards of these shots that are now indelibly imprinted in all of our minds. Engineers at ILM even went so far as to make this. This is the dinosaur input device. It's a stop-motion armature. As you can see, each of the joints, it has a little encoder on it so it can send the data back to the computer. So the stop-motion animator can do frame-by-frame animation like they normally would. The computer would record it. That animation could be sent across the bay from Phil Tippett's shop to the artist at ILM, who could put the skin on and light it and render it, even touch up the animation digitally to create the final shots in the film. Literally a combination of the oldest animation technique we know, stop motion, and the brand new computer graphics techniques back in 1993. This has been true recently with AI technology as well. This is from Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Here you can see Harrison Ford performing on set in that iconic role he created, but he's looking a little younger for the opening of this film. Our artists hand-tuned generative AI models on past performances of Indiana Jones, of course, with Harrison Ford's permission. In addition to that, our artists also created a full CG, computer graphics version of his performance. This is CG skin, CG eyes, all the details that go into that. So why did we do it two different ways? Well, it turns out the AI system is really, really good at getting that likeness, pulling all the details out of Harrison's performance that he could do unencumbered on set, get that into a likeness and the correct age that we were looking for this character. It wasn't as good at the details and the controls. That's when our CG model came to the rescue, and our artists created a blend of the two to create the opening 20 minutes of this movie, and I'd say some of the best work of this kind ever done. And it's not bad if Harrison Ford says, "It's pretty good, it feels like me." So that's blending the old and new, right? Leaning on the experienced artist to drive even the brand new techniques. That takes us to how technology can actually work hand in hand with creative. I believe that we're designed to be creative beings. It's one of the most important things about us. That's one of the reasons we appreciate it. We just love it when we see technology and creativity working together. We see this on the motion control, on the original Star Wars, or on Jurassic Park with the CG dinosaurs for the first time. I think we just love it when we see creativity in action like this, tech and creative working together. If we fast forward to 2020, we can see the latest real-time virtual production techniques. This was another creative innovation driven by a filmmaker. In this case, it's Jon Favreau, and he had a vision for a giant Disney Plus Star Wars series. First time we ever were going to do a series of Star Wars on TV. This is for The Mandalorian. And it was a big show, but we didn't have a normal film schedule. We had to shoot it all very, very fast. So rather than flying the cast around the world to try to find these exotic locations, we brought locations to them on a single soundstage in Manhattan Beach, where we had configured this LED wall to act as a virtual production background. So we could immerse our actors, our entire crew, all of the departments in these virtual worlds. And even some locations you just saw that weren't from our world, they're from outside of our world. Interestingly, Kathy Kennedy, the same producer who produced Jurassic Park, she now runs Lucasfilm. She was one of the people who got behind this idea early, before any of us knew that it was going to work. The technology leading up to this had been created hand in hand with filmmakers over the years. So this is back on Rogue One. The supervisor on that show, John Knoll, this is his iPhone footage. You can see the first time we were using LED lights on set to light the dynamic lighting in a cockpit. A couple years later, I was supervising Solo, a Star Wars story, and we thought, could we take what they'd done before and could we make the content high enough quality so you could point the camera directly at it? And we started making shots like this for the very first time. This is hyperspace in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon. And you can see my friend, the DP, Bradford Young there, and he invented this shot. We had shot hyperspace tons of times before. But in the moment, he saw the light coming in and he realized this was a moment of hope in the film. So as he pans over to Han Solo, you can see the reflection of hyperspace in Han's eyes. Just a beautiful collaboration between tech and art that elevates the storytelling and gives our artists new tools. That's what we love. So that catches us up to The Mandalorian, where, as always, it starts with words on a page, the script. And then our artists break it down. And I'll break it down for you, how they add all the different elements. So what you see there is a CG ship, a computer graphic ship, added in post-production. But the rest of the background, that was live on the day on that LED wall, for all the departments to work together to create life in that scene and block these shots out. I don't know if you see those walkers in the background. You'll never guess. They were stop motion animated over a Tippett shop. Yes, the same Phil Tippett, far from extinct all these years. So it's a combination of the oldest technique in the book with the latest real-time computer graphics to bring an illusion together on the screen in front of the whole cast and crew. Okay, so you're not supposed to show your magic tricks, right? But I've shown you all the tricks. So now perhaps you can figure out where the set stops and the LED wall begins in this frame. I've just held it there. Just maybe draw an imaginary line in your mind. Here, I'll show you the answer. Hopefully we fooled you. Our artists work really hard to make it a seamless blend between the two. And now we can pop these LED stages up anywhere in the world when it's the right creative fit for a filmmaker. Okay, so that's blending the old and new. How tech and creativity working hand in hand create things we just love. And last, maybe most importantly, our theme about artist-driven innovation. So what happens when you put the latest AI tools in the hands of talented artists, both to see how good these tools are these days, and what does it do to our artists' imagination? Where does it take their imagination? So I'm going to premiere for you a brand new short film. This is just a test. This is not a final product. This was created by one artist. His name is Landis Fields. He created this in 2 weeks to explore what it would feel like if you sent a probe droid out to a brand new Star Wars planet. What would it see? And more importantly, with this kind of show, if we made this, and I'm not announcing a new show, this is just a test. If we made this, what would it feel like? So I'll let you watch a couple minutes. It's pretty fun to see artist expression leveraging the latest new tools. Now, this, as I mentioned, is just an early work in progress. Those are not final Star Wars character designs. That's not a finished product. For a show, for a movie, we need a team for so many reasons. But we at Lucasfilm and ILM, we don't think we're just around the corner from one or two people making a film in a dark room by themselves. We benefit so much from the diverse skill set of the artists and the technicians that work on our films. They bring so much creativity to our projects. That's what we want to capitalize on. What you see here, you can kind of think of it as like a mood board, but a moving one. And how much more powerful is it to have a tool like that to get an early impression of a show as you're deciding what to do next? It is natural for us to think about jobs as these tools continue to evolve and get more powerful. If you go back to the days of models, and miniatures, and motion control, there was only a couple dozen people in the whole world who know how to build and operate these complicated machines. Today, there's literally hundreds of thousands of artists around the world who know the latest CG techniques, the latest computer graphics, visual effects techniques. There's a huge opportunity for creative, talented people with these skills. And as our tools continue to evolve, we take our responsibility seriously to grow and develop the talent that's working on our projects. This is how we've been doing it for the last 50 years. In fact, some of the artists who worked on the original Star Wars series are still working with us at ILM today. So that's artist-driven innovation. Like you've seen on our productions over the decades, like you just saw with Landis Field's most recent test, that field guide. Now, the tech companies on their own, they don't have the whole picture, right? They're looking at a lot of different opportunities. We're thinking about it from a filmmaking perspective. And storytellers, we need better artist-focused tools. Text prompts alone, they're not great ways to make a movie. And it gets us excited to think about that future where we are going to be able to give artists these kinds of tools. And as these tools do get so powerful, we do need to use them thoughtfully with the full permission of the talent, like you saw in the example of Indiana Jones, where Harrison Ford gave his permission for his likeness to be used, and we had full access and the rights to the training data. So that's what we're focused on at Lucasfilm and ILM. The next generation of creative tools, leaning on all these amazing innovations. And then we can just imagine that next game changer, that next Star Destroyer moment that's going to light up screens around the world. It's going to be even more imaginative, can be even more creative than that original that inspired us all in 1977. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Such an amazing talk. Every time I see it, it makes me just want to go watch epic movies. Let us know in the comments, what have you seen any of the movies and shows he was referring to? Are you a Star Wars fan? Are you watching Star Wars this weekend? Let us know in the comments what you thought about that talk. Such a good one, such a great one, a good one to end on. And unfortunately, we're more or less out of time. For those who maybe joined during that last talk, my name is Ikey. I'm the digital curator at TED, and this is a TED Talks watch party where we hang out, watch some TED Talks together, have awesome discussions and conversations in the comments, and just a really cool space to hang out for a little bit and take a break from the world and hang out with some people that are also interested in TED Talks. We do this about once a month, varying platforms, but if you're enjoying this, if you liked this format of watching TED Talks with fellow people who are interested in TED Talks, let us know in the comments. It's super helpful to get some feedback and know if this is something you want us to do more of, because we can. It's fun. It's so great. We have basically endless TED Talks. And if you have any ideas about what topics you'd be interested in having us wrap a TED Talks watch party about, let us know. We've done some in the past about jobs. We've done some about, we're planning on doing one about mental health on LinkedIn later this month. So we've got some good ideas, but we like to hear from you. And that's really where we get our inspiration from. So please let us know in the comments. And you've been awesome. We've had some really good discussions, and I'm just happy to have been able to share, for me, Friday morning, for those who are all over the world, any other time during the day. So without further ado, that's it for me. Thanks for watching. You can find all these TED Talks on TED.com or YouTube. If you're watching on TikTok, a lot of clips from these TED Talks are on TikTok. So make sure to like and comment on those. That really helps us out. But for now, just want to say thanks for joining. Have an amazing rest of your day.